Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my stream. So, topics today are going to be the baby bonus, the causes of birth rate collapse, and environmental toxins. So, baby bonus. That's probably the biggest news for today is probably Trump is supporting an idea to give basically $5,000 to mothers of new babies. So, several opinions on this coming up. First of all, it is an obvious problem throughout basically the entire world. There is a higher probability of demographic collapse causing worldwide dissolution, basically, than any. There's more likelihood of that having an issue on the future of the planet than anything global warming oriented. Period. Because frankly, we have the technologies to deal with environmental collapse. Even the worst of global warming, even the worst projections are like 5% or something of world GDP shrinkage from the environment, just from birth rate collapse. It's gonna be like negative 20, 30, 40%. So it's like, okay, it is a big deal. And also, I really hate using GDP as a measure for this kind of thing because GDP is such a stupid metric. But it's useful for knowing what the scale of a problem is, because if you're comparing different issues, you can use GDP. Now, more importantly, is it's just how many people are just not gonna do what they want to do. People still want families. It's just they can't get them. So it's obviously a problem. And if we care about this thing called liberty and liberalism, Western civilization, and freedom of speech, if we care about that stuff, it has to propagate itself in the next generation, or it will be replaced by a different culture that I guess has merit, but it's not the cultural values that we have. That's the thing that's liberals are really weird, is that they're talking about how terrible conservative values are, and even though somebody like Elon Musk has the same basic values as somebody in the left, and you're attacking us, it's like, no, we're not. We're actually on the same team, which is weird. So that's. However, I have several opinions about this particular policy. One, it's a really, really good thing that America is looking at this as being a problem. It's less of a problem for us as it is for a lot of countries in the West, but it still is a problem, and it's still getting worse. And nobody has any fixes yet. So it's good that they recognize that it's an issue, because it is one, and it's a big issue, obviously. Two, it's good they're actually going to put money behind it. It's one thing to have like a committee or something being like, oh yeah, this matters. Putting money towards something is actually making a decision about it being important. And hopefully the Democrats wake up and say, hey, but this is an issue we can work on. And if you know something's a problem and you're willing to put money towards it, those are the two prep steps you need to actually solving anything. You need to identify the problem and be willing to put money towards it. All that said, people pretty universally saying that giving $5,000 to a prospective mother isn't gonna change that much. Like nobody's gonna decide to have a kid now that they have an extra $5,000. Like having a kid is like $70,000 to $100,000 depending how you raise them. $5,000 isn't going to make a difference. There might be some edge cases where it pushes people to have kids a little bit earlier than they would. The real cause is it's not going to make people have kids. The IVF stuff that Trump is doing, that actually is going to have a pretty big impact because there's technology that can be developed and made cheaper. But the $5,000, that's not actually going to make a difference. The countries that have done that kind of thing, I think Hungary and maybe another country have done that. It had an effect. It basically slowed the rate of the fertility collapse in those countries, but it didn't reverse it. It's a step, but frankly, it's a good first step. A lot of conservatives right now are saying there just needs to be a lot more. You should be tax-free if you're producing the next generation, which might be a bit extreme, but it makes sense. If you're producing the next generation of taxpayers that's going to pay into the system, that should compensate you to a certain extent. Because if your future is paying into the system that you're taking from versus somebody childless like me who doesn't have anybody in the future to put into the system, somebody like me should pay more. That's just fairness, if anything else. And logic. If you subsidize childlessness from people who have children, you're gonna have more childlessness. So all of this kind of goes into the point of what are the actual causes? The, people give out various causes. One, they say, oh, people don't have as much money to have kids. No, that's categorically false. The populations that have the most kids are the ones with the least amount of money. Africa, parts of India, basically Africa at this point. There's no real correlation that's seen. Of course, there are some rather wealthy countries that have pretty healthy demographics. A lot of that's because of immigration factors. But yeah, it's not money. People say it's because kids used to be a source of income. No, they weren't. An 8-year-old in the Middle Ages is just as worthless economically as an 8-year-old today. Maybe a bit more valuable, not enough to make a difference. There's still a net cost. Having kids is a cost. Just talk to any polemics against Irish people back in the day. They were a cost. Then what other causes do people say? Oh, well, the world is dying. It's like, well, that's a judgment call. There aren't any big famines. Like, the idea that the world is somehow just going to destroy by global warming, there's no real, evidence for that right now. Like, there's evidence there's global warming, and there's evidence that it's going to have some environmental impacts, but nothing compared to the famines that were typical, 100 years ago. So it's not that people don't think the world is safe. The world has been going up and down so much over the past millennia, and there's been worse times with more kids. Then other factors, people say, oh, people in cities more. Maybe. Israel is pretty cityfied, and it has actually one of the only above replacement fertility rates in the entire Western world. And yes, I consider Israel part of the Western world. The decline of religiosity. Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand with the fertility changes. I think it's culture. And of course, most of this answer comes from basically the opinions of Malcolm and Simone Collins. Great podcast, by the way, Base Camp. A lot of fun to listen to. A little bit critical, but that's what they do. They think it's culture, and I'm inclined to agree. People aren't animals. We don't just breed and have children. You make a decision to have children. And especially now, maybe that's been a kind of questionable in the past, but now it's definitely a decision to have children. And so culture is what we have, is a social technology that we have that motivates people to have kids. Culture says, hey, have kids. Okay. And the culture is not always something that's intellectualized. It's not something where it's you read a book and say, oh, I'm going to have kids now. That can be it. No, culture's felt more deeply than that. It's what you think is valuable in life and what do you prioritize? Our current culture, the urban modern culture, in the terms of Elon Musk or the Base Camp couple, is basically sets a set of standards of what is important to have kids by, or what's important. And the current culture that we have tells people basically not to have kids, or not having kids. It tells people not to get married, not to settle down. The idea of people getting married and not having kids is kind of a myth. When people get married, they tend to have kids to a replacement level. So it's not really that. The dinks is not really a thing. I know dinks. Guess what they all did? They all had kids. Because at a certain point, that's just what happens when a man and a woman are married and live together. They have kids. But people are prioritizing that side of their life. So I know decent number of rather beautiful women who just never settle down just because they put putting the quote unquote right guy over having the just getting married. And what's weird is that the choices of making the right guy doesn't actually get them lower divorce rates or anything or get them settled. It doesn't work because what people look for being right or competent is not the same as what actually makes somebody a good husband, which tends to be a sense of whatever. So yeah, it's culture and it's marriage. If you want to increase the birth rate, you need to get people married. And I don't know what the answer to that is. A lot of people give male-oriented answers because men obviously are very much more concerned about this issue than women right now. And women need to figure out, okay, what are they going to prioritize? Because if they don't reproduce, people will reproduce that is not as feminist does not have the same value set as they do. And that value set is going to be, if it's not the Western value set, is going to be a regressive Islam, basically. So yeah, we'll see. It's gonna be interesting how it turns out. Whatever wins should win because the future should belong to those who inherited it. That's the only possible option that there is. So yeah, I don't think the $5,000 is a solution, but it's a start. And at the very least, it distributes money towards cultures that have kids and away from cultures that don't. And we want that to happen now before the culture and the right actually turns regressive. Okay, so good on the Trump administration for addressing the topic. The solution is wrong. It's not going to hurt things, but they're working on it. That's a good thing. And eventually, hopefully, the left wakes up and tries to offer their own solutions because we're going to need both sides working together on this one. Men and women working together. Oh, yeah, you need that for kids. Right. Oh, of course. Duh. Doy. Anyway. Oh, by the way, if you want to do more research, the two Western-style countries that are actually positive are Israel and Mongolia. Just so you know. Next topic. But one thing that is a cause, that is a lesser cause, but it does have an impact, especially for people who want kids and have decided to get kids. There are a lot of people, and I know a fair number of people like this who want kids, but are unable to produce them. That's actually a lot more common than you think, especially as women wait till they're 30 to have kids. I know so many women who, I'm not going to name names, obviously, but I know so many women who got married late, wanted to have kids, and they can't. That's actually a really, really common thing. That's why people actually get married earlier, because they're like, oh, you're fertile until age 40. Bullshit, you're not. You're most fertile like under age 30. Sorry, but I was just a bitch. But some of it is caused by environmental toxins. So, especially for men, and I guess for women too, I don't know as much about it for women, it does have an impact. And I'm really embarrassed by the left right now. Like, you guys care so much about the environment and human health, and then as soon as Orange Man Bad says that it's an issue, oh, RFK says it's an issue, oh, they're just being stupid. It's like, the environment's your side. The health side is your side. Why are you against the things that are actually going according to your priorities? What the hell are you thinking? Anyway, I think it's a really big issue, but basically it's plastic. I would put it into three groups, and they're all invisible. Plastics, chemicals that enter the body in different ways. And you know what things you can do to reduce how much plastic basically you get into your system that's going to destroy your fertility. One, don't microwave plastic. Don't heat plastic. If plastic is hot, it's poisoning you. And it includes your morning latte, Michael. If you're going to do plastic, make sure it's cold. Get nice coffee instead. Teflon pans. It's plastic. Get ceramic. And honestly, you're going to get toxins. you can't rely on the fact that you're going to be fertile at the same level as your parents were 40 whenever they were born, whenever they were in your same age. You're probably 3 or 4 years of less fertile, like, on the age gap than your parents were. And get cracking, I guess. But of course, I miss that avenue because of my career. Not my career has gone that great, but it's the fact that I've been up and down so much. I was on gas, Epic, and I was always kind of on the edge of losing my job. And then went back to school, and I didn't really have a career until I was like 29. And then by that time, you're already kind of missing the boat as far as dating goes. So now I'm older than that, and I'm still doing what I can. But like, this is for guys out there. Get cracking. Don't worry about your career. Find a wife. Sorry. Anyway, I missed that, but maybe you will. Anyway, cheers.